Hello, good evening. I just jumped on quite late this evening. I did do a big video earlier, but all of my microphones are knackered. Apart from this one, which appears to be working perfectly, so good. I shall concentrate on this one. But the point of this video, very quickly, is it was quite interesting this week to see somebody called David Grush, who testified under oath in front of the US congressional hearing. I really don't quite understand about the different facets of American politics, but it was quite interesting to see him say all this stuff about UAPs. What they're calling UFOs now are UAPs, which is unidentified aerial platforms or something along those lines. And he was basically saying that there are aliens have visited us, that we have crashed craft, we have biological entities, we have been harmed by them. Basically, every UFO movie since Close Encounters of the Third Kind, have basically said all of the things that he said in this congressional hearing under oath. Now, this is what's utterly bizarre to me about this whole thing, is that he's testified under oath. Now, this guy apparently is ex-military, something along those lines. I did look him up. I don't know. David Grush, whistleblower and former Defense Department employee, testified a long time, former military pilots, etc. Now, there's a difference between a UFO, UAP, and actual credible evidence. Now, the reason being, if you're newish to my channel, I know I've got a lot of traction from my collaboration with Dan. Still very grateful for that, and still enjoying the numbers and what have you. I did a video just after I got my big surge after the Ghostbusters video. I did one about Avatar. Now, while I used Avatar as the basis of the video, the reason I chose that one is because there was a book, I can't remember what it's called. It's The Science Behind Pandora, something along those lines. And James Cameron, the director of Avatar, has said, "Yeah, I really enjoy this. We'll call this canon." And it was all about the actual system that was spoken about was Proxima Centauri, which is 4.5 light years away, which is our closest. Say closest. I mean, it's still a very long way away. And to get there, I'll quickly throw some numbers. I'll quickly abridge what I said. The fastest thing that's currently up in our solar system at the moment that is man-made is the Parker Solar Probe, which I think at the time of the recording was travelling at 330,000 miles an hour towards around the sun. If we were to be able to attain those kinds of speeds in a man-made craft to get to Proxima Centauri, of which there is no evidence anything there is sustainable for human life or life in general, it would still take us 6,500 years, which means, and this is the bit which always makes me chuckle internally when people talk about colonising other planets or colonising other systems. If you're going to travel to another solar system, one, you've got to find it first. Two, you've got to mate in space. Now, that's a bit of a graphic statement, but it's very simple. We, as humans, have a lifespan of about 80 years, on average. Some of us, evil sons of bitches who want to be president again, are getting around that, and he doesn't look like he's got any kind of infirmity going on, damn it. Sidebar, sorry. So, you have got to basically got a whole bunch of amazingly intelligent people. You've got to put them in a spacecraft that can sustain them for several thousand years. We're talking, the big ship in Wall-E, that thing, whatever it was called. That's what you've got to think about. And I'm talking about shopping malls and everybody getting really fat. But you've got to get a stupidly large amount of people to avoid crossbreeding and interbreeding and what have you, and incest. You've got to get them into space. You've got to get to mate in space. And thus far, we haven't broken the rules of artificial gravity yet. So, as far as I know, I haven't really looked into it because Google makes a mental note of what you search. Nobody knows if human gestation, is possible with zero gravity. I would assume it is. However, fetal gestation could be severely affected in a zero gravity environment. So let's get it out of the way. So basically, you've got to breed in space in massive numbers to avoid interbreeding crossbreeding and incest, then you've got to really hope none of your kids have got any developmental problems. They're healthy, they're going to live to full term, they're going to do whatever, and they want to be astronauts. And they're intelligent enough to be astronauts. Now, I love my boys. They're both autistic, they both have ADHD, they've got PDA, they've got all these other things coming out their backsides. And as much as we love them to pieces, they'll never be astronauts. I will never be an astronaut. Too old for one thing. But the problem is, looking at interstellar travel from our perspective as humans, as biological entities, is bloody impossible. And if you're talking about single or double man craft crash landing on Earth so that they can be recovered within the scope of military operations, so these things are only flying around US air bases apparently. So you've got single, double, triple manned aircraft, no bigger than a coach apparently, or a minibus or a Greyhound or whatever you want to call it, crash landing within the facility of military installations on the Earth, and they're being picked up before any civilian can find them, then what are the chances of that? Going back to my previous Avatar video, which I will link down below because I'm quite proud of it and it didn't get copyright struck for the first 30 seconds, which I was really surprised about. Thank you, James Cameron. Whatever. So basically, the numbers involved, I go on about the Fermi paradox. The Fermi paradox is something along the lines of the absolute size of the universe is inversely proportionate to the likelihood of us ever bumping into anybody else in the universe. I have no doubt whatsoever it would be amazingly naive of anybody to think, given the vastness of the universe, remember what I said in my last video about shrinking our cosmos down to the size of a penhead and then relating that to the size of the observable universe. If you think of how huge the universe is, and the problem is a lot of people cannot fathom that at all, because a lot of people are very insular. If you think about the size of the universe and think that we are the only planet lucky enough to have life on it, I wouldn't call it lucky, then you are amazingly insular and naive. There simply has to be. Look at the images in the James Webb Telescope, all those galaxies, all those star clusters, all those nebulae. And imagine that every galaxy has 1 trillion solar systems in it. And then every solar system has 5 to 7 planets revolving around the sun. So in the James Webb Telescope alone, there was in that image that they brought back, there was probably 100,000 solar systems of varying ages. 100,000 times 1 trillion times 5. Okay, 1%, less than 1%, a millionth of a percent will give you a planet with life on it. Will we ever meet them? Of course we bloody won't. We're too small and we're too quiet. As I said in my last video, I'm going to say this again because I've said it before, the earliest signal that can be transmitted from the Earth happened in 1970 something. Actually, no, that's a lie. It happened quite some time ago. I can't remember the numbers, and it hasn't even got outside our galaxy yet. It hasn't even got. Nobody knows we're here, and nobody's going to find us by accident. The further out you look, the further back in time you look. If you're looking at Proxima Centauri, which is 4.5 light years ago, which is probably our best guess, when we look at that, and we're not looking at it with like any kind of clarity, we're just looking at radio telescopes. We just know it's there. We cannot take a picture of trees on the surface of that planet, if indeed there are trees. So we're looking back 4.5 light years. We're looking back 4.5 years. Anybody looking at this planet from 100,000 light years away is going to see Neanderthal man. Anybody looking at this planet from 4.5 million light years away, or 47 million light years away, is going to see dinosaurs. That's the kind of thing I'm getting at. So we are too small, too quiet, too remote. Nobody knows we're here. We have not been visited by aliens. There are no UAPs. There are no biological entities held over in Area 51 or anything like that. If you think you've seen an alien, or you think you've seen a flying saucer, you've seen something else. It is a UFO and it is a UAP. The key word here is unidentified. Which comes on to the next question. What is this guy playing at? Why is he lying under oath, which puts you in jail for a very long time if you've got a crap lawyer. Why is he saying the things he's doing? Why are there so many other people saying the things they're saying? And why is anybody giving him the time of day? There's a lot of memes going around saying what should happen if it's suddenly revealed we've been invaded by aliens, and there's videos of people panicking on the street. But what's actually happening? People going around their daily lives. Reason why? Nobody believes it. And why should they? Even if you're of the mindset that, yeah, we've definitely been visited by aliens, we're getting visited by aliens. I was once probed by an alien and it was wonderful. No, I wasn't. Sorry, I don't know where that came from. Now, as far as I know, anybody can go to a congressional hearing and say what they want to say. But if they're going to say it under oath, they're going to land themselves in a shitload of trouble. There was something quite recently about a flat earther who went to a town hall meeting and wanted to sue NASA for lying to everybody about the shape of the planet and this, that and the other. So anybody can stand up in front of a council. I've done it myself. I don't mean to brag, but I got together a petition for about 3,000 signatures, including a few celebrities and all over the planet, to try and turn a big old bingo hall into a theatre. Fell on its arse for political reasons, but anybody can get up and speak in front of officials. It adds absolutely no credence whatsoever to anything they have to say. And the fact that this guy is ex-military means nothing at all. I'm still a little fuzzy on what the whole full agenda is and why he said the things he said. His name's in the papers, that's for one thing. Is he trying to get more money spent on a certain department of the military? Trump's signed several contracts to piss a load of money away on Space Force for some reason. But like I say, it's the stuff of science fiction, it's the stuff of nonsense, and it's the stuff of delusions. If you believe in UFOs and aliens, fine, go for it, knock yourself out. Loads of people believe that Trump won the last election. Yeah, so a little bit confusing, this one. It's refreshing to see an amazing large amount of people are just shrugging their shoulders and saying, where's the evidence? It really is a case of, well, I heard it from my sister, who heard it from a cousin, who heard it from their plumber's neighbour, who overheard it in a bus station, who's, that kind. It really is that kind of Chinese whispers kind of thing. Yeah, it really is quite befuddling why he's saying all this now when there's nothing to gain from it. And that's the most important thing. I mean, if you've got an agenda that you want to force on other people, you really do have to have some evidence to back it up. And when you really have just got hearsay, innuendo, and, he said, she said, it's just a waste of everybody's time. It's just very confusing why this person would obviously volunteer, unless he's being forced, there's another conspiracy theory, to say these things when nothing is going to come out of it apart from 5 to 10 years in pokey. Well, I wish him all the best. I just hope it was worth it. No.